Hello, everyone. Vatana, are you here or? I think we are still waiting for Vatana, our chairperson. So please wait for a while. I think she will arrive soon. Hello, Catherine. Nice to have you here. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining us. And perhaps if you all can turn your camera on so we can greet each other, perhaps. For your information, in Indonesia at this moment, we are under lockdown. So for a while, it is complicated to continue our research here in Indonesia. So how is everybody? Hello, Bom. Thank you a lot for always supporting us. And I think we have a couple of friends here. Hi, Jim. How are you?
I'm okay. It's
Yeah.
early morning here, so I'm still a little bit sleepy.
Really, thank you so much for joining us. And we have Arya Wirayuda. Hello, Arya. Hello, Teresia. Hello, Bruna.
Hello.
And hello, Anshuman. Hello, Arya.
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
Are you in Indonesia or?
I'm in Budapest.
Ah, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So how is the situation there?
It's good. No max anymore here. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good for you. Here we just under lockdown. So
Yeah.
hello, Teresia.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Good.
Okay. Where are you now? Where are you?
Indonesia.
In Indonesia.
Indonesia.
In which city? Are you in Java, in Bali, or in Sumatra, or in Java? Okay. Yeah. Welcome to the club. Yeah, we are under confinement. And Bruna and Anshuman, how are you doing? Where are you? Perhaps you can share with us a little bit. How
Hello,
is the
ma'am.
situation there? Yes.
Hello, ma'am. I'm from India, and the cases are actually decreasing as compared to May.
Okay, good to know. Thank God. Okay. Good to know. And I hope you're in a good condition. Thank you for joining. And Catherine, you want to share with us a little bit?
Yes, I'm very boringly in Paris, confined for the moment being, but very happy to see you all and apologizing. Yeah. I'm not yet en tenue for putting a camera on, but
No, it's okay. It's fine. It's good to hear your voice as well. Catherine, she's in France. She's my colleague at OHSS at EHES Paris. Okay. Hello, Bruna. Are you in Italy or I don't know, Bruna Crespi? You're Italian or I'm trying to guess.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
No, actually, I'm Brazilian.
Oh, you're Brazilian. Sorry.
Yes, but I live in France now. Okay. I'm a researcher in postdoc in the Quebrani Museum.
Ah, okay. Nice.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Thank you for coming. And Gabriel, we are still waiting for Vatana.
Hello, everyone. Yes, we are waiting for Vatana. I have no news, but she answered to our emails a few minutes ago. So I think she's struggling to connect. She will be with us in a while.
Okay. So perhaps you can introduce yourself a little bit as
a
founder of ALTERSEA and explain briefly about ALTERSEA.
Yes. Yes, thank you, Truly. So Gabriel Facal, co-founder with Truly of ALTERSEA. We founded the observatory last year. You just saw the opening notes So I won't repeat what was said there. But this conference is our first main event. So we are very proud and tired to to gather everyone today. We wanted with ALTERSEA and more particularly with the conference to initiate a dialogue between social researchers as well as activists, concerned citizens, and all the people who are interested by what we call alter politics. So we have different tasks. First one is this concrete task of enabling a dialogue or developing what was already done by many organizations, individuals, and trying to put it together to make more connections. So obviously we are not the first to work on this kind of crossroads, but we would like to have like a central point to develop this kind of dialogues. And another task is more theoretical, and it is focused on the concept of alter politics in itself. So these are the two main directions towards which we are working together. This year for the conference, we were only two organizers, and after that we were joined by Eduardo Dresdanta, who is also a PhD student in France, and he helped us a lot with technical assistance. So thank you so much, Eduardo. I think he's managing something somewhere, preparing maybe the other sessions. So sorry for all the small technical details with which we had difficulties. For next year, we will try to have a bigger team, so everything will be more fluid as well. What to say in addition to it? I think Trolley has some problems of connections. Maybe it's quite easy for her to support the Zoom connection plus the recording, plus maybe some different media through which she is coordinating the other sessions and participants. So because it's already 9:08, I will try to call Vatana. So please let me just a couple of minutes to try to coordinate that, and I will come back very soon.
Okay, thank you, Gabriel. And for this panel, we are being supported by C Junction. So perhaps, Bob, would you mind to share a little bit about C Junction and about yourself, of course?
Hello.
Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Bom. So I'm in Bangkok, Thailand right now. So situation in Thailand is not good as well. We have like 6,500 cases, new cases today. So the COVID-19 situation here is not good. So I'm from C Junction, and C Junction is happy to be partner with ALTERSEA to host this conference. So C Junction is a public venue and knowledge center focusing on Southeast Asia. So we focus on every dimension of Southeast Asia. Normally we hold event, discussion, exhibition, and many form of event. Unfortunately, with COVID-19 situation, many events have been canceled, and we try to do more online. So we also have some artist special initiative that we have done online, like the storytelling initiative about COVID-19. We have some advocacy going on via our Facebook and our website, C Junction.
Thank you, Bom. Really have been such a great help for us. Thank you so much. So we will watch.
Oli?
Yes?
Yes, sorry.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. So I had a message from Vatana 20 minutes ago. Hello, I'm waiting in the room. So she's on time, really on time, but maybe we have some small technical problems. So I advise her to refresh her page, her connection.
Ah, okay.
Do you see her?
Nope.
The waiting room? Nope.
No.
Okay, so I continue with Vatana, trying to make her to join us.
Okay. Okay. I just saw her. Okay. Yes. Hello, Vatana.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you. How are you?
Yeah, fine. I relaunched the Zoom.
Computer? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, it happens. It's normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No worries.
Okay, so yeah. Okay, so shall we begin?
Sure.
Okay, so again, I would like to thank you to join the conference panel. It's not TRUA, it's 3A, which will be by our chairperson, Vatana Polsena. This conference is also supported by Institut Français, Centre Asie du Sud-Est, GIS Asie, C-Junction, LP3ES, Ateneo de Manila University, KITA, University Kebangsaan Malaysia, AFRAS, Pondok Prancis, and Diponegoro University. So for easy identification, we would like to ask for your attention to the rules of conduct of our panel. So to facilitate the meeting, please mute your microphone and indicate your full name for the profile. I think you all have known about these rules, I think, but I will try to explain again. During the Q&A session, please type your name, your question in this chat box, and who you are addressing the question to. So in case, unfortunately, another presenter, Sarah Andrea, she is not able to join us today because of the COVID situation in Sumatra. So Puji will be the only presenter for today. So feel free to give feedbacks and questions to Puji. And just write down your question in the chat box, and then I will call your name to ask the question in person. Okay, but before we start our discussion, I would like to give a short introduction about our chairperson, Vatana Polsena. She's a research fellow at the CNRS. She taught at the National University. Sorry?
Yes, no, you're right. I'm currently
correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that's fine. That's fine. You were about to say it anyway. I'm currently at the National University of Singapore.
Yeah. And she taught at the National University of Singapore between 2004 until 2006, and then 2014 until 2017, and was posted to IRASEC in Bangkok between 2011 and 2013. And her current research covers the social and political history of the Cold War from the vantage point of the Lao, Vietnamese, and Lao Thai borderlands, and the nexus between state, local elite, and ethnicity in post-socialist Laos. In general, her research interests include the processes of state and social formation in borderlands, the interaction between the past and personal and collective memories, and issues relating to ethnicity and multiculturalism in Southeast Asia. So is there anything that you would like to add, Vatana?
No, that's fine. Pretty comprehensive.
You were director of the Centre Asie du Sud-Est, right?
Yes, yes, co-director with Vanina Bute.
Okay. So the floor is yours, Vatana.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much, Trudy, and apologies again for the slight delay. But it is my pleasure to host this panel today. It is entitled Identity, Culture, and Heritage Commonality and Alterity within Cosmopolitan and Historical Territories. So just a few words about this panel, and I'm going to introduce then the two presentations and the two speakers. So this panel aims to present a few case studies of a collective struggle for the preservation of cultural know-how and values. More specifically, the studies explores the way whereby social groups can counter actions promoted by the state and other forces. So how can these social groups emancipate from this normative frames? So these two presentations that we're going to listen to today both look at the preservation and revival of a cultural identity and material culture. The first paper in Indonesia by Puji, and the second, but both in Indonesia actually. In case of Puji's paper, it's in a cross-border area between North Kalimantan and Sabah in Malaysia. And in case of Sarah's paper, it's in West Java. So both these communities are struggling or fighting in spite of state encroachment in the context of rapid socioeconomic and environmental changes, especially regarding the first case study that we're going to listen first. And both speakers also show how these communities have adopted strategies to counter the state and the majority's culture and constructed their own cultural but also political space. So now briefly, I'd like to introduce our two speakers, and first Puji Astuti. So Puji, you graduated in 2014 from the University of Indonesia. She's currently a research fellow at the Population Research Center at the Indonesian Institute of Sciences, better known as LIPI, for the past 3 years now. She's involved in several research projects with various institutions such as the Faculty of Economics at the University of Indonesia, but also with the Ministry of Education and Culture. She's also part of an editorial team of the IPSK Journal of the Indonesian Society of the Republic of Indonesia. And then last but not least, a few words on our second speaker, Sarah Anaïs Andrieux, who obtained a PhD from the École des Hautes Études en Sciences Sociales in Paris, the School for Advanced Studies in Social Sciences. She's been living in Bandung for the past 15 years and been working even longer on the cultural and heritage politics in Indonesia. She has studied in particular the Sundanese Wayang Golek puppet theater for over a decade, considering its identity, mystical heritage, and political dimensions. She's also conducted a brief study on the practice of female circumcision in West Java and on powerful object known as pusaka in the same area. She's currently, her new research project is about alternative groups and identities such as New Age movements and also atheist movements. Okay, so without further ado, I think I will now give the floor to these two presentations. And after we've listened to these two presentations, I will collect the questions, and we are lucky to have a Puji who will be answer the questions and respond to the comments live. But of course, if you have also comments and questions for Sarah, please do so, and we will be happy to pass them on to her. Okay, so now enjoy the talks. Perhaps one more, if I'm not going to be cut off. The title of Puji's paper is State Sovereignty and the Rupture of Mammatic Tradition Among Indigenous People in North Borneo. And Sarah's paper's title is Kasundan, Wayang Golek, and Political Identity in West Java, Indonesia.
Hi everyone, I'm Puji Hastuti from Universitas Indonesia. It is an honor and privilege to share my presentation on this event, the first ALTERSEA video conference. So thank you to the committee for having me. From social regulation, the social movement, Hi everyone, I'm Puji Hastuti from Universitas Indonesia. It is an honor and privilege to share my presentation on this event, the first ALTERSEA video conference. So thank you to the committee for having me. From social regulation, the social movement is the theme for the conference. And here I participate as a presenter on panel 3A, Identity, Culture, and Heritage. In this presentation, I would like to share my thought about the social and cultural activities of border communities in North Borneo area concerning their indigenous material knowledge known as Mamatik. Based on my abstract conference has been submitted to the first ALTERSEA committee. Therefore, my presentation is entitled, as you can see here, Set Sovereignty and the Rupture of Mamatik Tradition among indigenous people in North Borneo. Broadly speaking, I intend to problematize two fundamental contentions: state sovereignty and the rupture of indigenous material knowledge. To break down the fundamental contention that I problematize, I elaborate on 3 points as follows. First, Sembakung watershed, cross-border community, and social cohesion. And the second one, Mamatik as a symbol of cultural and ecological sustainability. And the last one, the condition of the community struggle to revive Mamatik tradition. Sembakung watershed is located in Borneo Island, precisely in North Borneo area. You can see here on the map. The red line is a trajectory of Sembakung watershed. The upstream of Sembakung watershed is located in Sabah, Malaysia. It is flowing water downstream to North Borneo, Kalimantan, Indonesia. People living in Sembakung watershed cross the border from North Kalimantan, Indonesia to Sabah, Malaysia, or vice versa for doing cultural and social activities. Cross-border activities by community in the Sembakung watershed are not just temporary social cultural relationship, but it is draw up a life cycle system. I think it's kind of an everlasting relationship, so that the community call it with terminology berian sampai mati, or giving rights until they're died. Moving on the second point, I want to notify that doing Mamatik crafts, it is a grassroots effort, especially from women, to preserve the endemic plant of Borneo known as rotan hutan or forest rattan, or in the Latin name, Calamus caesis. In the presentation, I want to prove to all of you that Mamatik is not just a craft, but a precious symbol of cultural and ecological sustainability. This condition needs to be appreciated and receive our significant attention, of course. Why? Because if we look at the community's cultural system, they embrace a patriarchal system. And this condition puts the woman in a subordinated position. In fact, by still carrying out the mamatic tradition, the women have an opportunity as an actor in environmental justice movement for their ecological system that impact devastation, tropical forests in North Borneo because the penetration of the palm oil industry. And the last point, I will elaborate struggle to revive mamatic. This point elaborates on two aspects, the penetration of the palm oil industry and the welfare issues of the indigenous people. I have already explained that penetration of the palm oil industry has destroyed biodiversity, including endangered rattan existence. The existence of rattan makes the forest being alive because of rattan growth by natural symbiosis with trees. Preserving the mamatic tradition means sustaining rattan existence. And then that means protecting trees and finally keeping the forest alive. That's why, besides damaging the environment, the penetration of the palm oil industry also killing mamatic as precious material culture. And the second point, as you can see here, this part, actually I want to synthesize the struggle of Sembakung watershed people, especially women, to revive mamatic and well-being of the community as an indigenous people. In this modern era, global interdependence create an extraordinary transformation. And of course, including the border community of the Sembakung people, which I describe here. In fact, mamatic as a rattan craft has the opportunity to become a commodity that has economic value. The advantage of this condition is that women can earn money without neglecting the responsibility at home and no longer demanding to work as laborers in the palm oil industry. As you can see here in the picture, it is a craft artist from Switzerland, namely Margaret Linder, has carried out an empowerment program for the community to provide rattan weaving training with an expert. This is an expert from Samarinda to phasing out quality standards for export commodities. After reflecting on my exploration of the cross-border problem in Sembakung on this occasion, back to the case of contention idea between state sovereignty and the endangered material tradition, I intend to outlining 2 points of our policy recommendation. First, we urgently need to have integrated bilateral management at the nation-state level between Indonesia and Malaysia that regulates cross-border watershed policy like Sembakung watershed case. And the second point, the state as policymaker must be committed to ensuring environmental justice for indigenous people. It is related to Sembakung case, environmental degradation causing by the penetration of palm oil industry, which endangers the Mamatik tradition. That's all my presentation. I hope my presentation can offer you a peculiar knowledge and another perspective about cross-border cases. And hopefully it raises your awareness about the cross-border watershed problems, state sovereignty ideology or state sovereignty ego, and the impact on endangered material knowledge of indigenous people. To end up this presentation, I want to say thanks to Ibnu Nazir Daraini for his constructive suggestion of my previous abstract that submitted to ALTERSEA Conference Committee. Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Today I will start my presentation with a brief historical overview, just to say that before the Dutch colonization, West Javanese and Central Javanese kingdoms were already distinguished, especially during a historical event called Perang Bubat in 1357, where the Central Javanese kingdom of Majapahit confronted with the West Javanese kingdom of Sundanese kingdom. After in 1579, the West Javanese kingdom or Sundanese kingdom of Pajajaran fell under the assault of the Sultan of Banten, and part of the aristocracy fled into the forest and became ascetics, says the story, and part of it fled to Sumedang Larang, the nearby city of Sumedang, and continued with the Sumedang Larang kingdom until 1620, when the Mataram kingdom from Central Java win the war and instaured political and cultural domination. So at that moment, we had a switch from Sundanese values and language to Javanese, Central Javanese values and language, as well as the use of Central Javanese characters to write Sundanese language. With the Dutch colonization, the inlandsbestuur actually gave a role to the local elites within the colonial administration, mainly through the role of the bupati or regents. In this context, the elite looked for a better status within the population and towards the colonial administration, as well as towards the Javanese domination they had to suffer for two centuries. And culture became a new space for power. This is similar to Central Java, where the kraton or palaces became actually centers for culture and for standardization. In West Java, it was not the palaces because there was no palace remaining, but the houses of the regents, the bupati, which became a center for the renaissance of Sundanese arts, such as Tembang Cianjuran in Cianjur, the Gung, Wayang Golek in Bandung, and so on. In parallel, the Dutch administration constructed the Sundanese language at the same time as a language and not as a dialect anymore, as it was before, looking for equality with the Javanese, and they also looked for the proper language level, defining purity or authenticity. They said they found it in Bandung, but this gave, for a consequence, there was a standardization process through grammar and dictionaries published, more and more literature and transliteration from Arabic Pegon or Chacharakan Javanese characters into Latin characters. This really, the beginning of the 20th century was really the beginning of the use of Latin characters for Sundanese language. In this context, Wayang Golek appears as a very good example because it appears to really accompany this renaissance of Sundanese culture and identity. In 1950, Wayang Golek was created at the house of the Bupati, the Bandung Bupati Wiranata Kusuma III, and it connected many different elements. First, it connected popular performances that were the Javanese Wayang Kulit that were popular within the population at that time, with the new Islamic media. Wayang Kulit is the leather puppet, and Wayang Golek is the rod puppet theater. Rod puppet is said to have been invented by the Wali Songo, or the saints who diffused Islam in Java. So it was a way also to connect the contemporary identity, Sundanese identity, which is thought as Islamic at that time until now, actually, with the history, the Hinduist history, and the history of Pajajaran, the last Hindu kingdom that fell in 1579, through the Hinduist repertoire that was still used at the creation of Wayang Golek. Moreover, they added local features such as the Sundanese language, and we had the creation of Wayang Golek Purwa in 1850 that lasts until now, actually. So actually, Wayang Golek is kind of an official claim for identity rooted in history, looking for legitimacy similar to Wayang Kulit in Central Java. Today, Wayang Golek is still a very popular performance in West Java. Performances last 7 to 8 hours, starting at 8 in the evening. The troops are family-based and said there are one performer, one puppeteer called the Dalang. The stories are performed in Sundanese and Old Javanese and adapted or derived from Indian epics of Mahabharata and Ramayana. The main context of performance are life cycle events and ceremonies, large-scale public and political events, and rituals. The audience is participating actively. It is never limited in age, sex, or social status. Actually, Wayang Golek can be seen as a fait social total, as described by Marcel Mauss, including many social and economic activities revolving around the performance. The Dalang itself is not playing alone, but accompanied by this huge gamelan, collective instruments played by at least 12 musicians and singers. During the 20th century, which was the century of the rise of the nationalism, the independence in 1945, and the New Order, the authoritarian New Order regime that lasted from 1966 until 1988, Sunda was considered as the second ethnic group in the national context and was often juxtaposed with Jawa Barat, or West Javanese province. Actually, this group suffered a kind of distrust also because of the early years of the Indonesian Republic. Actually, an independent country was established in West Java called Pasundan, Negara Pasundan, and it was supported by the Dutch administration. So it lasted from 1948 until 1950. And after that, there was a kind of Islamic rebellion claiming for an Islamic state that was called Darul Islam that lasted until 1962. Moreover, there was also a kind of Javanism, which is a central Javanese political domination that was at stake. So here we see in the official school images, Jawa Barat is understood among the 34 different provinces and also the different custom house and practices and so on. During the 21st century, at the end of the dictatorship of General Suharto that ended in 1998, was a period called Reformation that started right after, and this period was also accompanied by a decentralization process that was at stake since the early 2000s in Indonesia. And this process of decentralization was accompanied by various local identity claims, such as in Bali also, or in Sumatra and so on. In West Java, the claim for Sundanese identity really reached its peak in 2010s with a very high will for revivalism. And we could find the manifestations in various aspects, such as clothing or accessories, symbols in the public space, the infatuation for idiosyncratic practices and rituals, new identity narratives, and the increasing existence of Sundanese culture and discourses online, as the cyber-physical reality became a new space for identity and cultural expression, but not only in West Java. What I call the cyber-physical system is the interaction between the offline world and the digital one, which are intertwined to create a new complex reality where the actors act on a regular basis. It means that they do not get connected once a month, but quite regularly. So the different fields I was mentioning, for example, fashion. In the middle of this slide, you can see Prabu Siliwangi, who was Sri Baduga Maharaja, a semi-legendary king from the 15th century, who's considered as the golden age of Pakuan Pajajaran, the Sundanese kingdom, before they fell in the 16th century. So you see him with the traditional Sundanese attributes. I say traditional with marks because it is the representation we have now from him. So he has a pangsi, a traditional black suit. He wears a kujang, which is the Sundanese blade. We could say the Sundanese blade, and became a symbol for Sunda. And behind him, you can see a tiger, as Prabu Siliwangi was supposed to be accompanied by a tiger, and he disappeared in the shape of a tiger. So in modern fashion advertisements, you see here this pangsi coming back, so the black suit, here with the tiger, so more symbol. You also see tutorials about the ways to wear ikat, head cloth, and the different ways you can do it. And you also have, in more, let's say, urban sets of T-shirts with Sundanese characters, Sundanese sentences, and so on. In the public space, there's been an increasement of Sundanese symbols, such as the Kujang, as we just mentioned it before. So here on the left, you have the Tugu Kujang monument in Bogor that really became an icon for the city. Here it's in Bandung, you have the Tugu Maung, the tiger monument. We have 3 or 4 dispatched in the city. And the right pictures are from Ciamis, Banjar, at the frontier between West Java and Central Java provinces, and you have this huge kujang here that close the road, and you have also a statue of a soldier with a tiger. Of course, the tiger is reminding the Siliwangi's tiger, and you have to know as well that the military division based in West Java is called the Siliwangi Division, and it had an important role in the independence as well. So the tiger is very, very present in West Java. There is also a strong infatuation for idiosyncratic practices. I would say that it started in 2015 or 2012, more or less. What are thought to be traditions, Sundanese traditions, such as Pencak Silat. You have here coming soon Kasundan International Pencak Silat Camp. So the Kasundan, Sundaniri is kind of a word for gathering. This grandmaster is very well known in West Java, but also in the world. Chetep Arif Rahman is kind of a maestro, and he gives also online classes. For Wayang Golek, for example, I've witnessed an increased number of audience coming to the performances before the pandemics, of course, but also an increasing presence on the internet, which had 2 consequences. First, the extension of the performance space, as YouTube and live streamings from the artists and from the sponsor allowed parts of the population that cannot access directly on the performance to watch it. And since 2020, we have also specific online performances during these pandemic times, as the proper performances cannot happen. And the second consequence is the increased visibility of the troops and the consolidation of fan communities through social media like Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and so on, where they communicate about the events. Well, they communicated before the pandemics, but they also mobilize the fans communities, such as Pamiarta Wayang Golek, that exists since 2012 in West Java, and they have like subgroups in Bogor, Bandung, Bekasi, Subang, so the different regions in West Java. But also, since 2015, I could observe an increasing number of fans coming to the performances. I mean, crossing literally the province to watch their favorite dalang, and tighter interactions between fans and the troops, as they cannot discuss or get in touch directly through the social media. We also observe the emergence of Sundanese narratives about Sundaniti Kasundaan. These are mainly urban communities, such as Bumi Dega Sunda Academy, that is based in the northern part of Bandung in Dago, and is gathered around a very interesting character who's called Pak Uci, who's the creator of the most famous motor gang in Bandung. And in the southern part, for example, you have Pak Budi Dalton, who is also teaching, let's say, or discussing about Sundanology in a project called Project Budi Dalton, and he himself is, if I'm not mistaken, he's the head of Pemuda Pancasila, which is a very important organization that works kind of gang too in southern part of Bandung. So these groups I gathered about very strong characters and proposed narratives of Sundanese history, philosophy, and religions mixed with humanism. They refer to rural communities throughout West Java for the social organization, the agrarian way of life, and festival. For example, you have Serentaun here, which is a festival, an annual festival for rice harvests. And they also claim alternative religious identities such as Sunda Wiwitan, the original Sundanese, Madrais, or Kepercayaan, which is literally the belief. So these communities are from west to east. The Badui community in Banten, which is a very specific example, but is considered as the core of Sundanese identity and the reference, the ultimate reference, because they choose to live in a closed environment and do not let outsiders to reach the center of the organization. But you also have Kasepuan Banten Kidul in Sukabumi, the other pictures, also a fraction of a village in Ciparai near from Bandung, the Kampung Naga in Tasikmalaya, or even Cigugur in Kuningan on the far eastern part of West Java. However, these communities actually face many problems in their everyday life. For example, forced touristification, as refused by the Badui in July 2020, means that the central government or the local government decides that because of their specificity, these communities are interesting to open to tourism, but the communities themselves do not always enjoy the people coming and do not always wish them to come. So that was the claim of the Badui last year. They also have problems with the acknowledgement of their religious beliefs. Until 2019, everyone had to choose one of the 6 official religions in Indonesia to put it on his identity card. So between Islam, Catholicism, Protestantism, Buddhism, Hinduism, and Confucianism. Now they can put belief or Sunda Wiwitan, but it's still difficult to implement it. And these communities also have to face with problems with local administration and discrimination in their everyday life concerning land or administration. For example, last July 2020, the Cigugur community in Kuningan couldn't build a monument for a grave. They didn't get the authorization from the local government because they said there was no authorization, and they were worried that this place would become a place for worship and idolatry. And besides the Sundanese narratives, looking for the roots and looking for alternative identities within the national context, you have what I call Sundanese fictions or illusions, as the governor of West Java would qualify them. In these fictions, you have Sunda Empire or Earth Empire that is issuing passports and numbers for its cars and so on. And they are group gathering very often, meeting, and they claim to be the descendants of the old Sundanese kingdoms. Interestingly enough, last year, one of the high functionaries was arrested because he changed the Wikipedia page and stated that the first UN gathering was in Bandung in 48. So they claim that Bandung is the center of the world, basically. Another one is Kekaisaran Sunda Nusantara, which is the empire of the Sundanese archipelago. Sunda is here to be understood as the lesser Sunda Islands, I mean the geological term that refers to the islands of the western part of Indonesia. But they also issue driving license and identity cards and all these kind of things, and even police numbers for their cars, and that makes some troubles actually in the public space. Finally, this Sundanity or Sundanese identity is quite often used in politics, actually. First, of course, as the identity politics is very important. We could observe, for example, in the presidential election in 2019, here you have, on the left side, you have Maruf Amin, who's the actual vice president of Indonesia. And there was, this campaign was Orang Sunda Pilih Orang Sunda, Sundanese people choose Sundanese people. And he was claiming his Sundanese descent to call Sundanese voters to give their voices. On the right side, you have the elections for the governor in 2018, and you can observe that one of the candidates on the far right side, wears a traditional ikat or our head cloth, and he was very, very busy having cultural safari budaya, in order to gather people around him and to meet with personalities such as Budi Dalton, we just mentioned before, so that he could claim votes from Sundanite groups. But also, the Sundanese identity is also used in politics to counter radicalism. And it's also, and even if they're not used, they also act as alternative or opponents to radical groups. For example, the FPI. FPI is the Front Pembela Islam. It was dismissed at the end of 2020, but it has been recomposed, I would say, already. But it was really like the Sundanese groups would really oppose them. And I give two examples here that before I finish. In 2015, the head of FPI said that Sampurasun, which is the traditional Sundanese greeting in Sundanese, sounded like Champuracun, which means blended with poison. So you have you had many Sundanese communities who complained. And in 2016, the wayang statues you can find in Purwakarta, which is a little town northern from Bandung on the way to Jakarta. You have 12 or 15 statues that were destroyed or burnt by the FPI members. And at the time, the Sundanese Sundanite groups just came out in the streets and faced these FPI members. And in some parts of West Java, especially in Bandung and Purwakarta, you had kind of a gang war actually between the Sundanese communities and the FPI members. Okay, I think I will stop here because my time is already over. Thank you very much for your attention.
Right. So thank you very much, Puji and Sarah as well for your presentations. Maybe just a few words before we start the discussion, just a sort of a summary of both your papers. I found that these two presentations, although they focus on vastly different populations, if only in terms of size, nonetheless, I think focus on share different themes. First, of course, the themes of enduring cultural and historical identity, but also the theme of struggle, the fact that Puji, you show in your paper that the Mamatic craft and tradition is struggling against what you call the penetration of the palm oil industry, and in sort of and also in the larger context of economic forces and globalization. And Sora, of course, struggle against state encroachment. For example, she mentioned forced touristification, religious discrimination. But nonetheless, you have also a third theme, both of you, is that you also show this sort of dynamics of empowerment and also a search for autonomy. Puji, you shows it through this empowerment program to convert Mamatic into export commodity. And Sarah, of course, she shows different examples such as alternative narrative, political uses of Sundanite, and so on. So two very rich topics. So I hope we'll have several questions. So we can open the floor now. And I think there's already some questions here. Is it the moderator? Is it me who passes on the question? Or?
Yeah, it's up to you, Vatana.
Right. Okay. So let me see. I guess because I mean we are a dozen of people. I think perhaps. Maybe we can ask our questions directly to Puji. I think that would be perhaps simpler. Okay.
Of course, Vatana. I wrote it because I thought maybe if there are many questions, it will be complicated for Julie and you as well to moderate it. But so Puji, I had thought several short and simple questions to you.
Okay.
The first one was Puji. how did you investigate your topic? Did you go directly on the field, and for how many months? How were you received also by the population? And had you the opportunity to interact with the Swiss woman that you talked about? And did you have the possibility also to talk to officials and to have the point of view about Mamatic tradition? A second short question was, you mentioned that there was a reaction from the local population, or this small community at least. Did they have the possibility to aggregate with some NGO or foundation or some transnational network for the struggle? And third, it's a cross-border area, right? So who manages the local heritage? Is it Indonesian authorities or Malaysian, or both have their own micro programs?
Okay, so there are several questions here. Okay, Puji, you maybe you answer first Gabriel's question, and then we'll move on to another set of questions.
Okay, thank you, Fatana and Gabriel, for the question. May I answer with Bahasa Indonesia because I'm so nervous and I hope if I answer with English, it cannot be answered properly.
Maybe in that case, truly you will be able to translate if she answers in Indonesian. How do you see it?
Okay, but first, I'm not an operator, so perhaps it's better for you to first to give an explanation in a short sentence, so it will be easier for me, I think. Okay, let's try.
Okay, in Indonesia.
Yes, I will try to translate. I will try to do my best.
Okay. Saya ingin menjelaskan kondisi yang terjadi di Hulu Sembakung, masyarakat yang saya teliti adalah bahwa di wilayah hilir di Indonesia lebih preserving the mamatic culture because the plant rotan hutan is tumbuh secara baik di wilayah hilir, sedangkan di wilayah hulu terjadi banyak semacam deforestasi, dan hal itu membuat rotan hutan tidak tumbuh. Dan sebenarnya mamatic tradition ini tumbuh di wilayah hilir yang mana itu masuk di wilayah Indonesia. Akan tetapi tradisi mamatic ini sebenarnya adalah material culture yang merupakan
okay, Puji, maybe Truly can translate.
Yeah.
Okay. And then okay.
Yeah, so you would like to say that people who live in the downstream, they prefer to preserve their culture, right?
Yes.
And after that, I'm lost a little bit because it's
because the plant, the rattan plantation, tumbuhan rotan is growing up in the downstream area, which is in Indonesian area, and in the upstream area, in Sabah area, it is not growing up because in upper stream area is terjadi deforestation.
The deforestation occurred. Okay.
In deforestation.
Okay.
But the mamatic tradition is the bonding the social tradition across the border in Indonesian area, which is in downstream in Indonesian area, is and it's bounding the culture with Sabah community, the community in Sabah area, something like that. And the actor and performance struggle maybe in to revive the environmental, something like that.
Revive, masa dihidupkan kembali.
Dihidupkan kembali the mamatic tradition. It in downstream.
To redevelop.
Yeah, it's redeveloped in the downstream. It
You can tell me in Bahasa. I will try. Don't worry, Puji. Just give me in a short sentence, okay?
Okay.
Don't worry.
In di daerah hilir
in the downstream areas
di Kalimantan Utara,
in the North Borneo,
karena di sana lebih banyak tumbuhan rotan,
because there are many rattan plantation in the North Borneo.
Yes, rattan is the raw material of mamatic, so we can produce the mamatic, and it can, but tapi di sana di daerah hilir sebenarnya terancam semacam palm oil industry begitu. Jadi di daerah hilir yang tadinya banyak raw material yaitu rattan hutan, dia terancam untuk punah gitu, sehingga di sini memicu kayak semacam perhatian gitu dari seorang Switzerland artist which is Margaret Linder gitu. Dia membangun semacam komunitas gitu untuk fokus menghidupkan kembali tradisi mamatik ini.
Yeah, I will just give a short how can I say resume. So because of the palm plantation, it threatens the rattan plantations in the North Borneo. So it is getting more and more difficult to get rattan in Borneo, which is rattan is the most important material to develop the mamatic culture. So it means the palm plantation threatens as well the mamatic culture, and that's why it how can I say a researcher from Switzerland, she was interested to conduct a research about this issue and try to save this the mamatic culture. I hope it answers your question, Gabriel, and I hope I translate well.
Oh, that's fine. It was clear. Gabriel, did you have a last question about her research fieldwork, or are you fine?
No, I asked to Puji also through message, so it's why also maybe she was confused because she has to reflect in English and to answer orally and by message. So she told me that she was three months on the field.
I see. Okay. All right. Okay. So okay, so maybe we can move on to the next question. We have actually a question from Tiwi. Tiwi, yeah, would you like to ask the question directly to Puji? It's about gender equality, environmental justice, right?
Yes. Okay. Thank you for the opportunities. I want to ask Puji about the mamatic also. It's so interesting, and as you mentioned before, you said that Mamatik can help the environment justice. So, in your opinion, if it's preserved, can it become environmental sustainability in Borneo? That's my first question. And my second question is about gender equality, because you said before that Mamatik culture can help the gender equality, but actually how is the role of its gender in Borneo or maybe in Malaysia also about the environment justice? That's my question. Thank you.
So first, the question is how the Mamatik tradition and craft helps helps in this fight for environmental justice and environmental sustainability. And first, the question about gender equality. What's the link between gender equality and environmental justice? Is that the second question?
Yes, so I want to ask because it's mostly about women. So what is the role of the?
All right. Okay. Yes. So I guess the two questions are sort of interdependent. Okay. Puji, you want to start first in Bahasa?
Maybe actually,
up to you.
I'm sorry. I've thought about this question maybe in my presentation. Maybe it's not clear enough. Actually, the Mamatik tradition is talk about the motive that the woman can explain the articulation of the purpose of the first one. The motive is named Sinumandak. Sinumandak is the woman. Actually, I have to explain with bahasa. Sinumandak adalah motif yang dia kayak mengisahkan seorang perempuan yang dimana dia dituntut untuk semacam memberikan barang balasan gitu atas apa yang sudah atas apa yang keluarga laki-laki telah berikan. Kalau di masyarakat ini
satu-satu ya Puji, sebentar ya. So I will try to translate. So Sinumandak is a motive about a woman who received a gift from a man's family, dari keluarga laki-laki. Laki-laki ini suami atau
calon?
From her future husband's family.
Yes.
Okay, lanjut.
The future husband family to the woman clan. But di masa lalu keluarga pihak perempuan, terutama si perempuan ini, dituntut untuk memberikan barang balasan sebuah tikar bermotif, gitu. Sebuah tikar bermotif dengan motif yang tertentu gitu. Nah, Sinumandak ini adalah semacam bantuan gitu, bantuan dari suatu yang gaib untuk supaya si perempuan ini bisa menikah dengan orang yang dia sukai gitu. It is clear.
Jadi Sinumandak itu motif kan ya? Apa makhluk halus?
Sinumandak motif yang dia tercipta karena bantuan makhluk halus.
Okay. So Sinumandak is a motif from traditional textile, right? Which is not inspired, which is inspired from a spirit actually. So it tells a story about a woman who received a dowry from her future husband's family, and then her family, like in the past, a woman's family was obliged to to give back the dowry to her future husband's family. Jadi dapat hadiah dikembalikan lagi, begitu ya?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the second motive, I explain the second motive, and this is very articulative to equality gender for this community. That is Agi Gimpong motive. It's explained to the woman can cancel the married aliency. In the patriarchy culture in the community, suara perempuan itu semacam diredam gitu, tidak boleh disampaikan di ruang publik. Jadi dia mengartikulasikannya lewat motif Agi Gimpong. Jadi Agi Gimpong ini diserahkan ke pihak keluarga laki-laki dan itu menandakan kalau dia menolak aliansi lamaran yang sudah terjadi.
Itu cara si perempuan itu menolak lamaran sebetulnya ya?
Iya.
Oke. Wow, menarik ya. Oke. So I will try to translate. It's very interesting. So another motive that shows the gender equality in the society in the Borneo is Agi Gimpong. That's right, Agi Gimpong.
Agi Gimpong.
Agi Gimpong. So it explains that how in a patriarchal society, usually women's voices are being silent. So we are not at our liberty to express ourselves. So in this case, when a woman, wants to refuse a marriage proposal because her voice is being silent, shows her refusal through this motif on a textile. So it means that she wants to refuse, and she doesn't want to how can I say, to be silent by men. So yeah, it's a very nice topic.
Right. And can she refuse to marry?
Yeah.
Okay, she can refuse this marriage. Okay, through this is mamatic motifs. That's nice.
Yes.
That's really
Agi Gimpong. Yeah.
I guess to come back to Timu's question is that can you explain to us maybe a bit more details how concretely this woman or involved in mamatic tradition participate in this environmental justice? Can we call it a movement? Yeah. What kind of actions do they take through this mamatic craft or other means? Yeah.
Okay, I get it. Margaret Linder is an artist craft. It just she encourage the woman in Sembakung area. It's mamatic produced in that village, and it she make a community to making mamatic properly, to phasing out the import standard, to export standard. Jadi I answer with bahasa Indonesia. Jadi perempuan ini membuat mamatik yang kemudian dia bisa diekspor dan juga sebenarnya bisa dijual ke dalam negeri Indonesia sendiri gitu produk ini, dan kemudian dia bisa mendapatkan sedikit banyak penghasilan dari situ. Jadi dia tidak harus lagi bekerja menjadi buruh palm oil gitu. Yang mana itu sebenarnya mendistorsi tatanan sosial kultural dari masyarakat. Jadi tidak mereka bisa tetap preserving their culture mamatik and kehidupan sosialnya tidak terdistorsi oleh kegiatan industri dari palm oil yang mana dia harus mendapatkan penghasilan dari bekerja sebagai buruh di palm oil. Seperti itu.
Itu beberapa perempuan begitu ya?
Iya, beberapa perempuan.
Okay. So several women they try to refuse to be a part of the palm plantation, which threatened the mamatik culture by producing their own textile, the mamatik textiles, and try to export or to sell it in Indonesia and gain their own salary, not from the palm plantation. So it means that this kind of movement, how can I say, shows that they want to stop the exploitation by the palm plantation. Betul, cocok, Puji.
Thank you, Mbak.
Yeah, sama-sama.
Okay, thank you very much. Tiwi, you fine with the answers?
Yes, thank you. Because from the explanation, I got interesting about the motive because I didn't get it when Puji explained. Thank you.
That's good. Do you have any more questions for Puji or for Sarah, which will we transmit to her, of course?
I think there is one from Eka.
Eka, that was for Sarah, but maybe you have one for Puji too.
No, we haven't got any another question.
So maybe Gabriel, you have a question.
No, maybe I can just react briefly to Eka's question because I am not Sarah, but I know a little bit about the region where Sarah lives as well because I do my fieldwork.
Just can you all read Eka's questions to Sarah? Yeah. Eka, are you here? So basically, yes, okay.
Yeah.
So yes, so actually Gabriel can give you some elements of answer to your questions to Sarah. So if you just sum up your questions, I think there are actually two.
Yeah. In fact, I have just a simple question about the Sundanese identity construction in 21st century. Can be this called as a counterculture to Javanism? Because in Sarah presentation, she mentioned that Javanism kind of political domination from Central Java. So maybe can be this called as the counterculture, something like that. And the second one, I curious about the factor to encourage this revivalism identity of Sundanese apart from the centralization and the Reformation era. Yeah,
okay,
thank
great.
you.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. Gabriel, so
so obviously I don't have as much element than Sarah because I had the chance to exchange with her a lot about these questions of Sundanity and to visit her also in Bandung. So I think it's multifactorial. Obviously there is a strong competition between Javanese and Sundanese mainly for political legitimacy and for also elections historically, but there is also a strong factor which is demography. Sunda is developed very strong, very quick and abruptly. So the population increased very quickly during the last decades. It's often something that is not sought by the people, because they not every people have the diachronic perspective, but I think the impact is very strong, mainly because the countryside is going more and more crowded. So there is a difficulty for the young people to have land, so they have to go to the city in sometimes and often very difficult conditions. So there is a rupture between the different generations, a change also in the family model and its organization, in the micro-local solidarities as well, particularly economic ones. So this is a factor for which I think Sundanese symbols of tranquility, ancestry, spiritual places are also such relevant for Sundanese, not only for the old people, but also for the young generation. And another factor is the one you mentioned. It is political, but not only with Javanese. I think it is intra-Sundanese and also between Sundanese region and the national level, where Sundanese try to struggle to have more posts at the national level government. There is also a religious factor, because Bandung is headed by religious tendencies parties. It's a PKS, so it's a brotherhood oriented one, and it's why also that's why also sacred and spiritual symbols are so important for the Sundanese, at least the Sundanese who are interested with politics. So I think that it's a very multifactorial about this revivalism. Thank you. Sorry for my bad English and difficulties in concentration.
So this revivalism is not only directed or resistance against Javanese culture. It's really
no, I think it's political, religious, and demographic. It's linked to also a very general change.
Sort of a multidimensional movement, right? Okay,
and
thank you very much.
The region is populated by like 40 million of inhabitants. So
yes, 40 million. Yes, I googled.
So it's not the same context at all with Fuji's fieldwork.
Yes, yeah. So it's the second largest, as Sarah mentioned in the talk. So, do we have questions for Fuji or Sarah? Maybe I ask her one to Fuji. I like to come back to the topic of the palm oil industry, because you mentioned in your talk that, if I'm not wrong, that some women do work as laborers, and possibly men too, do work as laborers in the palm oil industry as well. So my question is, how dominant is the palm oil industry in the local economy? For example, how many people from the local community you're studying are employed by the palm oil industry? And related to these questions, are the Mamatic women supported by the local community in the environmental fight, by the local leadership as well, given the importance of the palm oil industry in the area? So first, the importance of the palm oil industry in the local economy.
Okay, that's dilemmatic. Actually, the palm oil industry is biased gender. Maybe the palm oil industry itself is get concerned with male in the community, but yeah, because male can join as a labor, or they can get with the plasma with CSR industry of palm oil. But for the woman, actually it can gain the social economic of the community, but the woman sedikit demi sedikit getting lost the rattan plantation area, maybe like that, and so that the mamatik can gain the economic by the female side, but the economic contestation of mamatik commodification and the palm oil industry as male join as labor in that corporate is not, it cannot be compared because it took too long duration of making mamatik. It can be 1 month or 2 months to produce the mamatik. That's very dilemmatic. And to import the product, Margaret Linder as a Switzerland craft, as Switzerland artist, they mengeluh,
they complain.
Yeah, they complain. They complain about the container of the import can contain the full of mamatik product, so it not full of product to send out with import, untuk mengisi kontainer seperti itu, untuk kemudian diimport.
Dan mereka mengekspor mamatik ke luar negeri atau sebaliknya?
Mereka mengekspor, sorry.
Okay.
Mereka mengekspor mamatik ke luar negeri.
Okay. They are exporting the product.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Do you want to translate, or can I translate?
Maybe this
Gabriel?
last bit, and then we can
yes.
Close
up. So they wanted to export the mamatik by using a container. That's right.
For palm oil industry.
Instead of using. Sorry.
No. Go ahead.
Instead of using there to send the palm oil, is that right, Puji?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So thank you very much for your answer. I think we're reaching the hour, the time limit. So 4:29. So again, thank you very much, Puji and Sarah. She wants to listen to the recording. I think we can say that this really two papers topics have many layered and cultural, political, economic, but of course on very two different populations, but looking at the revival and resilience of material culture and cultural identity. Okay, so we're going to wrap up here, and best of luck for the rest of the panels and the next 3 days. I'll be joining you for some panels as well. Okay.
Thank you so much, Fatana, for today. Thank you so much. Okay, so I would like to thank you all again for joining us, and we hope to see you at the next ALTERSEA conference or in another panel. Okay, have a nice day. Bye. Stay safe.
Thank you.